What's happening, people? I hope you're all well. So I'm out here on the roads, and the topic of today's video is going to be my ex started seeing someone before the end of our relationship. And a lot of you guys are going to have encountered this, and unfortunately some of you guys may have unknowingly encountered this, in the sense that your girlfriend ended it with you and she was actually seeing someone else towards the end of your relationship and you never even found out. It's very, very common for women to start having a look at the market and the lay of the land before the end of your relationship. It's happened so many times to so many people, and I'm not saying every woman does this. I'm not saying that every woman has ended it with you and had another guy waiting in the wings, but it is very common. And the reason for that is it's actually quite clever. If you're navigating your way through the sexual marketplace, you have to understand that we are hardwired differently to societal expectation. And what I mean by that is that the societal expectation versus biological hardwiring, you will see that there are many differences. So what is expected of people in society and what we're biologically hardwired to do are often clashing with each other. So I want you to cast your minds back to the hunter-gatherer days, which you can't fully do because you weren't alive in those times. I like that little bit of water there. I like that area. It's really beautiful. I pass it on a semi-regular basis. It looks real cool. Sometimes it's really cool just to go there and chill and clear your mind, but I want you to cast your mind back to the hunter-gatherer days, and I want you to think about what it would be like to live in those times. And I want you to think that how dangerous those times were and how common it was for people to die in tribe battles, and how unstable those times must have been for our ancestors. And so the likelihood of surviving on your own in those times were very slim as a man. Now imagine as a woman, I'm not saying women are useless at all, I'm just saying that the physical strength of an individual would have been far more important for survival back then, and women on average are physically weaker than men. Now there are some women out there who could beat a man up. You know, I wouldn't want to come against some of those UFC female fighters, but listen, in all seriousness, and, you know, speaking with regards to majorities, the average man is stronger than the average woman physically. So imagine a woman trying to survive on her own out there in the hunter-gatherer days. It's just not likely. And so women, being the physically weaker sex on average, had to use their mind. Sometimes it's mind over matter. So if a woman was to face ostracization from the tribe, it would be very smart for her to find, if she was going to lose her partner, it would be very wise of her to find another suitor. And if she could feel it happening, because I find in this universe, things don't just happen out of nowhere. Often you get a feeling that something's wrong or something's about to change or something's not quite right before it happens. That feeling in your stomach, you know something's not quite right. So when a woman could feel that things were going left for her thousands of years ago, it would have made sense, and you couldn't hate her and you couldn't begrudge her if she thought she was going to lose her partner and have to fend for herself, that she would lean to another man. I don't see anything wrong with that whatsoever. Now, if you fast forward to these days and times, yes, there's been a lot of technological advancement. Yes, there's been a lot of technological advancement and the world has changed, but our DNA hasn't really changed that much. So although we are consciously conforming to a lot of societal standards, our subconscious, our lizard brain really does think a lot like it used to think. Excuse me. Our lizard brain, which is the brain of the subconscious, really still thinks a lot of how we used to think, and thinks very similar to how we used to think. It's almost like vocal information travels faster than genetic information. So genetic information would be that, you know, our genetics receive the message that our certain characteristics and certain genetical traits are no longer necessary for the environment that we live in. But it seems that genetic information, so for example, there are certain genetical traits that are just not needed these days because of the world we're living in now. But if genetic information traveled really fast, then our genes would catch on to that and the next generation would lose a lot of characteristical traits. But that doesn't seem to happen. Whereas vocally, you know, I could vocally tell someone that something's not needed and someone could make the conscious adjustment. But it seems that genetic information travels a lot slower than vocal information, and it seems that subconscious information travels a lot slower than conscious information. So a lot of our behaviors under the table does actually still resemble thousands of years ago, which brings me back to the topic of your ex was seeing someone towards the end of your relationship. She's responding to her lizard brain. So she's thinking, for whatever reason, maybe she's losing attraction towards you. Maybe you're losing attraction towards her and she can feel you drifting. And so her lizard brain takes over. A bit like in a dangerous situation and your subconscious mind just takes over and you act without thinking. And that's your lizard brain. So a woman's lizard brain almost takes over and she starts to peacock. And she starts to do a lot of subconscious behaviors, sometimes not even intentionally, because 80% of human communication is non-verbal. So she's communicating with her body and mind when she's walking out and about, that she is almost advertising. I don't mean advertising in a like a loose way. I mean advertising that she's available in eye contact and body language. And not in the loose way, I'm gonna say that one more time, but eye contact, body language, and also energy frequency. There are certain things that our eyes are just not designed to see. So she feels you drifting, she's losing attraction towards you, whichever one it is, or maybe, you know, yeah, one of those reasons. Most relationships end when most of the time when a relationship ends, I would say 60 to 70% of the time, it's the woman that dumps the man. And I would say that when most relationships end, it's a lot of the time, I want to say maybe 70% of the time, relationships end due to a loss of attraction for whatever reason. So if you've been making mistakes with regards to your interactions with women, which we all do, I've done it, like you can be the most attractive man in the world. You can afford to make more mistakes, but you know, if you make enough mistakes, eventually she will lose attraction towards you. So you've been making mistakes. She's been losing attraction towards you slowly over time because you're compatible, yes, but when you make the mistakes, you're almost chipping away at that attraction. So you've been making mistakes, this is the most common one. You're making mistakes, you're losing attraction, and as she's losing attraction towards you, although she consciously likes you, you're kind, caring, good father to her kids, her lizard brain, the lizard brain is brutal, man. The conscious brain is like saying, yeah, he's the one. The lizard brain is saying, you can do better. This man is not the one to see your survival. You know, I think it's funny when so many people watch me when I film myself doing videos. And you know what? I used to be really self-conscious about filming in public and walking about, but like in a non-arrogant way, if I continue with that, this isn't the channel with the most views. This is one of my favorite channels. It's one of my favorite channels, but this isn't my most popular channel. I have a channel with millions of views, and I wouldn't have that if I cared what people thought. Just a little tip. So yeah, I used to care like what are people watching me. Now I'm just like, cool, you know, as long as I'm in an area I'm allowed to do it, I'm gonna do it. But anyway, back to the topic. So yeah, you know, you've been gradually losing attraction. Your woman's been losing attraction towards you because you've been making mistakes. And then her lizard brain is saying to her, you can do better. The guy you're with, his genetics are not strong enough to carry over to the next generation. It's brutal. And it's like, it's not even necessarily even true, because it's almost like we respond to cues, not facts. Because if you were to just implement a few behaviors, her lizard brain would be like, he has got the strong genes. So the lizard brain's a funny old thing, but you know, just to kind of solidify and bring back and refocus, for whatever reason, your woman has been losing attraction towards you. Most common, that's why relationships end, truth be told. And you know, gradually over time, she's now thinking you're not the one to carry over to the next generation. That's what our lizard brain's saying. And so subconsciously or consciously, sometimes women do it consciously, sometimes women do it, they don't do it. And some women will actually have the decency to end it with you before finding someone else. I just wanted to make that clear. But a lot of women, and sometimes younger women, you know, when we're young, we tend to be a little bit more arrogant. Myself included, I was a lot more arrogant when I was younger. Sometimes I'm still trying to shake some of that off now. Like, I'm thinking to myself, I need to correct myself in certain situations. But anyway, so your woman's been losing attraction. You know, you've been making mistakes, and she's now looking elsewhere because her subconscious is saying, go and find someone else. And what happens is, consciously, subconsciously, or a little bit of both, she's now starting to go to the gym. Maybe some of you have seen this. She's going to the gym. She's walking with maybe, not always, but maybe more revealing clothing. She's not, you know, when she's a certain body language that this tends to be maybe a little bit not so conscious. You know, when she's silling, normally she crosses her legs. This time she's not crossing her legs when she's silling. You know, she's wearing a little bit more makeup, she's applying a bit more eye contact to certain guys, and certain communications, you know, when she's talking in social gatherings, she's putting her hand on a guy's arm, and certain things that she wasn't doing before, basically peacocking. And eventually she meets someone, because it's a lot easier for the average woman to meet with someone than the average man. So she meets someone. Most guys are quite thirsty. A lot of guys, I don't say all guys, but a lot of guys are really thirsty. A lot of guys will take what they can get. And I'm not, you know, I'm just saying from facts, like a lot of guys these days and times it doesn't take much for a woman to basically find a guy. And she finds a guy, she meets a guy, and she dates him. And she basically subconsciously thinks, well, my lizard brain that still lives in the hunter-gatherer days, I can now dump the guy I'm no longer attracted to, because I'm safe and I won't die if I leave this guy, because I've got someone to protect me. That's what the subconscious is saying. That's pretty much it, you know. Women subconsciously don't really like being alone. I mean, as a woman gets older, there are exceptions, and as women get older, maybe they get more comfortable with it. But the lizard brain is basically telling a woman, don't be alone, you're out in the wild. This isn't the case now, it's outdated software, but it's true. And for whatever reason, she has decided she wants to end it with you, so she will get with a new guy, and to satisfy her lizard brain. And yeah, like, that's pretty much what happens. A lot of women will find a new guy before ending it with you, and you will always be 99% of the time the last to find out about it. Like, these are just facts. It's happened to me. Like, it's just reality. Like, and you just have to get used to it. And there are guys who will do this to a woman as well. But I'm talking in this video about the perspective of a woman doing it to a guy. So I don't think it's evil. I don't think women are evil. I don't think it is evil. Like, we've been put in physical bodies, and like, kind of like there you go. Like, you need to do some things, and some of it isn't always the most pleasant. Like, you know, I don't think it's evil. It's not nice when it's happening to you. I always say the best thing to do is to level up, like just try and level up in life as much as possible. The more you level up, the less likely things are going to go wrong and happen to you. And a lot of the things that I learned about women, like, it wasn't natural, like when I first implemented it, because it was like, these are not the behaviors I was brought up and told to behave like. And then as I started to implement these behaviors more and more, it became naturally what I do. And then it became a part of me. It's like you have to rewire your brain sometimes. And then if you rewire your brain, you can become more attractive to the opposite sex. And then it is natural and it is who you are. So the brain is like a sponge and you can change your behaviors, but nothing is assured and nothing is guaranteed. So sometimes your woman is gonna start seeing someone else before the end of a relationship. Sometimes you will find out after, sometimes you will never know, and it just is what it is. It's not to be taken personally. Just to round off, yeah, women, a lot of women do this. They meet someone else and end it with you. Like, a lot of the times this happens, and there's not a lot you can do about it. You gotta let her go, man. You gotta let her go. You gotta let a bird out of the cage, you know. And you can't force people to be with you. You can't control the actions of another. And a lot of things that happen are the lizard brain of the past not catching up with the days and times of today. But that's pretty much what it is. Let me know what you think about what I spoke about in this video. I've got some shopping to do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when I make a new video. If you appreciate my work and want to leave a donation, there's a link for that in the description. With that, enjoy the rest of your day. See you on the next one.